The mining explosion rippled across the surface of asteroid RX-7, a routine occurrence in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. At least, that's what it was designed to look like to anyone monitoring from the Galactic Federation outposts. In reality, the carefully calibrated blast was a weapons test, and Colonel Jake Morrison watched the energy readings with intense focus from deep within the asteroid's hollow core. "Power output at 10%. Discharge pattern nominal," reported Dr. Amanda Foster, her voice tight with concentration. "The signature is consistent with standard mining operations." Jake nodded, steel-gray eyes never leaving the holographic display. "Any chatter on Federation channels?" Commander Ryan Phillips swiveled in his chair, removing his headset. "Nothing out of the ordinary, sir. Just the usual complaints about human miners being careless with explosives." "Perfect." Jake allowed himself a rare smile. "Let them think that." For 3 years, they had maintained this elaborate charade. To the Galactic Federation, humans were nothing more than efficient laborers, primitive but useful for the dangerous work of asteroid mining. After Earth's forcible admission to the Federation a decade earlier, humanity had been relegated to the lowest tier of galactic society, their planet's resources claimed as payment for protection and technological advancement. What the Federation didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that beneath the surface of this particular asteroid, designated RX-7 but secretly renamed New Terra by those who served aboard her, humans had constructed the most powerful warship the galaxy had ever seen. A planet-sized vessel disguised as a mining operation, housing weapons that could vaporize entire fleets in seconds. Lisa Carter, Morrison's second-in-command and chief engineer, approached with a tablet displaying the latest diagnostic reports. "Hyperdrive is functioning at optimal levels. Colonel, we can reach twice the speed of any Federation vessel while maintaining stealth capabilities." Jake took the tablet, studying the figures. "And our shields? They'll hold against anything the Federation can throw at us. The alien tech we appropriated has been successfully integrated with our own innovations." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Ben Taylor, his face ashen as he burst into the command center. "Colonel, you need to see this." The main screen flickered to life, displaying footage that Taylor had captured during his routine patrol of the outer systems. The peaceful Zephyr homeworld was under attack. Federation vessels bombarding cities. Vorak ground troops executing civilians. It was genocide, systematic and merciless. "This is happening right now?" Jake demanded, his knuckles white against the command console. "Yes, sir. The Vorak Empire, supposedly our allies in the Federation, launched the attack 18 hours ago. They're claiming the Zephyr were developing forbidden technology, but I saw no evidence of military installations. Just hospitals, schools." Taylor's voice cracked. "Families." Jake's jaw tightened. "Transmit this to Earth immediately. Emergency channel. Highest encryption." Hours later, the response came through their secure link. Colonel Steve Parker, Earth's military liaison to New Terra, appeared on screen. "President Williams has activated Protocol 7-9, Parker announced, his expression grim. "The New Terra is authorized for immediate deployment. You have 72 hours to reach the Zephyr system and stop this atrocity by any means necessary." Jake exchanged glances with his senior staff. This was the moment they had prepared for, though none of them had expected it would come so soon. The fate of an entire species, and perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy, now hung in the balance. "Acknowledged," Jake replied. "We'll be ready." The asteroid that wasn't an asteroid was about to reveal its true nature. The command center hummed with activity as New Terra prepared for its first real mission. Lisa Carter moved methodically through engineering, checking every system, calibrating the hyperdrive engines that would propel them across the stars faster than any Federation vessel. "Stealth systems?" Jake asked, striding into engineering with Commander Phillips at his side. "Operational, Lisa replied without looking up from her console. "We'll appear as nothing more than a rogue asteroid on their sensors, at least until we choose to reveal ourselves." Jake nodded, satisfied. "And the main cannon?" Dr. Amanda Foster answered from her station across the room. "Charged and ready for demonstration. Though I should note, sir," she lowered her voice, "at full power, the devastation would be incalculable." Jake studied the weapons specialist. Amanda had designed the planet-killer cannon housed within New Terra's core, yet she remained conflicted about its potential use. "Let's hope we don't need to find out," he replied quietly. Commander Phillips cleared his throat. "All Federation intelligence channels monitored and accounted for. They have no idea we exist, let alone what we're capable of." "Good." Jake addressed the entire command staff. "In 1 hour, we break orbit and set course for the Zephyr system. This is what we built New Terra for, to protect the innocent against tyranny, to force the Federation to recognize that humans are not just miners and laborers to be exploited." As the crew dispersed to their stations, Jake retreated to his private quarters. He activated a small, hollow projector, reviewing again the footage Captain Taylor had brought back. Zephyr children being herded into camps, cities burning, the Vorak troops, with their distinctive armored exoskeletons, moving methodically through neighborhoods, executing anyone who resisted. His fist clenched involuntarily. The Zephyr were peaceful scholars, their only crime being their refusal to surrender their ancient libraries to Vorak protection. Now they were being systematically erased from existence. A soft chime announced Lisa's arrival. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Always, Lisa." She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "The crew is ready. The ship is ready. But are you? This decision will change everything. Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back." Jake turned to face his oldest friend. They had served together in Earth's defense forces before the Federation arrival, had watched helplessly as their planet was subjugated under the guise of peaceful integration. "10 years ago, we stood down because we had no choice," he said quietly. "We watched them take our resources, assign our people to labor camps across the asteroid belt, treat us like children barely capable of understanding their magnificent technology." His eyes hardened. "But we learned. We adapted. We built this ship right under their noses. And now? Now we show them that humanity will not stand by while innocents are slaughtered. We show them that Earth is not just another conquered world to be exploited." He gestured to the horrible images still playing on the holoprojector. "If we don't act, who will?" Lisa nodded slowly. "The crew is with you. All of us." A final alarm sounded, signaling departure preparations. New Terra trembled slightly, as massive engines, disguised for years as mining equipment, powered up to their full capacity for the first time. "Detach all mining facade structures," Jake ordered, as he returned to the bridge. "Maintain asteroid appearance. Set course for the Zephyr system. Maximum stealth velocity." The massive vessel pulled away from its long-held position in the asteroid belt, engines glowing faintly as it accelerated past Jupiter's orbit. To any observer, it would appear to be nothing more than an unusually large asteroid that had somehow broken free from its normal trajectory. An astronomical curiosity, but nothing more. As New Terra crossed the orbit of Saturn, moving faster than any natural object could, Jake found himself standing before the main viewport. The stars stretched before them, and somewhere ahead lay the Zephyr system and the Vorak fleet. 72 hours, he murmured. Let's make them count. Across the galaxy, in the gleaming command ship of the Vorak Armada, Admiral Kresh surveyed the burning Zephyr world with satisfaction. The campaign was proceeding efficiently, exactly as he had planned. Nearly 40% of the planet's surface had been cleansed already, the inhabitants either eliminated or processed for labor reassignment. "Admiral," his second-in-command approached, mandibles clicking in the Vorak equivalent of a respectful salute. The Ethereal Council has requested an explanation for our actions here. Kresh made a dismissive gesture with one armored claw. Send them the same report. Weapons development contrary to Federation law. Imminent threat to galactic security. His multifaceted eyes gleamed. By the time they complete their investigation, there will be no evidence left to contradict us. And the humans. Their mining operations reported unusual activity in the asteroid belt. Humans? Kresh's mandibles clicked in amusement. What possible concern could they be? They are laborers, nothing more. Their greatest achievement was developing primitive nuclear weapons before we arrived to civilize them. The Vorak commander nodded, though something in his posture suggested uncertainty. Of course, Admiral. There is one other matter. Our long-range sensors detected an asteroid moving on an unusual trajectory, exceeding normal velocities. A sensor malfunction. Recalibrate the equipment. Kresh turned back to the tactical display. Nothing in this galaxy moves without the Federation's knowledge. Now, prepare the next phase of the cleansing operation. In the rarefied chambers of the Ethereal Council, 12 luminous beings hovered in a state of agitation. The oldest among them, a being called Selenth, whose form resembled a swirl of golden light, addressed the gathering. The Vorak's explanation is clearly false. The Zephyr were scholars, not warriors. Their libraries contain knowledge that predates the Federation itself. Yet we have no proof of Vorak deception, countered another counselor, a pulsing blue entity. And without proof, we cannot intervene under Federation law. Selenth's light dimmed slightly, in the ethereal equivalent of a sigh. Then we watch another species vanish, another culture lost to Vorak ambition. We have grown too complacent, too bound by our own laws to enforce justice. What alternative do you suggest? Asked the Blue Counselor. The Vorak military strength exceeds our own. We are philosophers, not warriors. Before Selenth could respond, an aide entered the chamber, its light flickering urgently. Counselors, our astronomers have detected an anomaly, a large asteroid moving at impossible speed toward the Zephyr system. Natural phenomena do not concern this council, the blue entity dismissed. This is no natural phenomenon, the aide insisted. Its trajectory is too precise, its velocity too constant. Selenth's form brightened with interest. Continue monitoring this object. Perhaps the universe has found its own way to balance the scales of justice. Deep within the hive mind of the Kreland collective, a different kind of analysis was taking place. The Kreland, an insectoid species whose intelligence was distributed across millions of connected individuals, had been observing the Zephyr genocide with growing concern. The pattern repeats, communicated the Queen Node to her subminds. The Vorak eliminate potential rivals before they can evolve to threaten Vorak dominance. Previous calculation, humans next target within 7.3 standard years, responded the analysis node. Revision necessary. Unknown factor approaching Zephyr system. Elaborate, commanded the Queen. Object, asteroid in appearance. Reality, artificial construction. Origin, human asteroid mining sector. Conclusion, humans have created weapon. The Queen absorbed this information, transmitting waves of surprise through the collective. Probability of success against Vorak fleet? Unknown. Insufficient data on human weapon capabilities. Then we shall observe. The Queen decided. If humans succeed where the Federation has failed, alliances must be reconsidered. Aboard New Terra. Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck, watching the stars streak by as their massive vessel pushed its engines to their limits. Lisa Carter joined him, her face showing the strain of maintaining the complex propulsion systems at maximum output. We're making good time, she reported. We'll reach the Zephyr system with 12 hours to spare. Jake nodded absently, his thoughts elsewhere. You're worried about what comes after, Lisa said. It wasn't a question. We're about to announce humanity's presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. Jake replied, "Everything changes after this. There's no hiding what we've accomplished, what we've built." That was always the plan, wasn't it? To show the Federation that humans aren't just laborers to be exploited? Jake turned to face her. "Yes, but I always imagined a more diplomatic revelation. Now we're charging in to stop a genocide, potentially firing the most powerful weapon ever created." He sighed. "The line between liberator and conqueror can be very thin." "You're not Kresh," Lisa said firmly. "You're not the Vorak. We're doing this to save lives, not take them." "And if we have to take lives to save them, what then?" Jake gestured toward the bow of the ship, where the main cannon was housed. Amanda's weapon could vaporize the entire Vorak fleet in seconds. Thousands of lives, gone in a flash of light. Lisa was silent for a moment. "Sometimes, justice requires force," she finally said. "The question is whether we can control that force once it's unleashed." Their conversation was interrupted by Commander Phillips's voice over the intercom. "Colonel, we're receiving encrypted transmissions from the Zephyr system. Survivor communications. They're requesting immediate assistance." "On my way," Jake responded, already moving toward the bridge. As he and Lisa hurried through the corridors of New Terra, the massive ship continued its relentless journey toward a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. Thus, the bridge of New Terra hummed with tension as they entered the outer reaches of the Zephyr system. On the main screen, long-range scanners displayed the horrifying scope of the Vorak assault. Over 3,000 warships in formation around the Zephyr homeworld, methodically bombarding the surface. "Stealth system still holding," reported Commander Phillips. "They haven't detected us yet." Jake studied the tactical display, his expression grim. "How many Zephyr life signs are we picking up?" "Scattered concentrations, mostly in the southern continent's mountain ranges," answered the sensor officer. "Maybe 30% of their pre-attack population, at most." Dr. Amanda Foster entered the bridge, her normally composed demeanor visibly shaken. "Colonel, I've analyzed their attack pattern. The Vorak aren't just eliminating the population. They're systematically destroying cultural centers, libraries, museums, universities. They're erasing Zephyr knowledge from existence." Jake's jaw tightened. "How long until they complete their operation?" "At current rates, less than 48 hours. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Even at their current speed, they would arrive with only 12 hours to spare. Perhaps not enough time to save the remaining Zephyr. "Can we push the engines any harder?" Jake asked Lisa. She shook her head. "We're already at 120% of rated capacity. The system wasn't designed for sustained output at this level." Jake made his decision. Divert power from non-essential systems, life support on unoccupied decks, artificial gravity in cargo areas, everything we can spare. We need to arrive sooner. "Sir," Phillips interjected, "if we drop our stealth protocols, we could redirect that power to the engines as well. It would give us another 20% acceleration." "And announce our presence to the entire Vorak fleet," Jake noted. "They'd still have no idea what we are," Lisa pointed out. "Just that something large is heading their way, by the time they figure it out." Jake considered for a moment. "Do it, but maintain enough stealth to mask our weapon systems. Let them see the asteroid, not what's inside it." As New Terra surged forward with renewed speed, Jake retreated to his ready room, where Captain Taylor waited with updated intelligence. "The Vorak are jamming all communications from the planet," Taylor reported. "But we've managed to intercept some of their internal transmissions. They're explicitly targeting Zephyr historical archives, some dating back 20,000 years." "Why would they care about ancient history?" Jake wondered aloud. "Whatever the reason, they're determined to erase it completely," Taylor replied. "The Zephyr weren't just peaceful. They were historians, archivists of galactic knowledge. Some say their libraries contained records from before the Federation existed. Jake's communicator chimed. "Colonel," Lisa's voice came through. "We have a situation in engineering." Upon arriving in the engine room, Jake found several technicians working frantically to stabilize the hyperdrive systems, which were emitting an ominous whine. "We're pushing them beyond their safety limits," Lisa explained, her face illuminated by warning lights. "At this rate, we'll burn out the primary containment field before we reach Zephyr." Options: we can throttle back to 90%, which gives us a safe margin but delays our arrival by 8 hours. Unacceptable. Or we can maintain current speed and hope the systems hold together long enough. Jake studied the engineering readouts. "What's your assessment?" Lisa didn't hesitate. "We keep going. I'll monitor the containment field personally. If it starts to fail, we'll have about 3 minutes to drop to sublight before we lose the ship." "Do it," Jake ordered. "And Lisa, good work." As he returned to the bridge, Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. 3,000 Vorak warships against one human vessel. The odds were overwhelming. But New Terra wasn't just any ship, and humanity had spent years preparing for this moment. "How long until the Vorak detect us?" he asked Phillips. "Their outer sensor perimeter will pick us up in approximately 4 hours, sir." Jake nodded. "Then we have 4 hours to prepare. I want all weapon systems at full readiness. All personnel at battle stations." He turned to Dr. Foster. "Amanda, I need to know exactly what your cannon can do." She met his gaze steadily. "At 10% power, it can disable or destroy a standard Federation battlecruiser. At 50%, it could vaporize a small moon." She paused. "At full power, the simulations suggest it could punch through a planet's core, or destroy an entire fleet in a single discharge. And the collateral damage to the planet we're trying to save? Minimal, if we target correctly. The energy beam is remarkably focused. All destructive force projects forward in a tight cone. The real question is whether we should use such power at all." Jake heard the moral challenge in her voice. "We'll use whatever force is necessary to stop the genocide. No more, no less." He addressed the entire bridge crew. "I want that to be clear to everyone. We're not here for vengeance or conquest. We're here to protect the innocent and show the Federation that humanity will not stand by while atrocities are committed." The crew nodded in solemn agreement as New Terra continued its headlong rush toward a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history. Admiral Kresh was reviewing the latest cleansing reports when the alert came through. "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected a large object approaching the Zephyr system at high velocity." Kresh's compound eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Natural or artificial?" "Unclear, sir. Its profile matches a large asteroid, but its speed and trajectory suggest propulsion." "Federation identification signal?" "None, Admiral." Kresh's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Magnify image." The screen showed what appeared to be an irregularly shaped asteroid, approximately 1/5 the size of Earth's moon, moving at impossible speed toward the Zephyr system. "Scan for energy signatures," Kresh ordered. "Minimal readings, sir. Some heat emissions consistent with natural space phenomena. Nothing indicating weapons or advanced technology." Kresh studied the image, his centuries of military experience triggering a sense of unease. "No asteroid moves that way naturally. Dispatch a reconnaissance squadron to intercept and identify." As the Vorak ships moved to investigate, Jake Morrison watched their deployment from New Terra's bridge. "They've spotted us," Phillips confirmed, "sending 10 ships to investigate. Time to intercept?" 17 minutes. Jake turned to Amanda. "Can we maintain our disguise under close inspection?" She shook her head. "Not against detailed scans. They'll detect our power systems, the hollow interior structure. Then we drop the pretense," Jake decided. "Lisa, prepare to shed the outer camouflage layer. Amanda, bring weapon systems to standby. Phillips, open a channel to the approaching Vorak vessels when they're in range." The reconnaissance ships closed rapidly, their sensors probing the approaching asteroid with increasing intensity. "Colonel," Phillips called out, "they're scanning us with military-grade sensors. Our disguise won't hold much longer." Jake nodded. "It's time. Execute surface jettison protocol." Throughout New Terra, explosive bolts fired simultaneously, detaching the carefully constructed outer shell that had disguised the massive warship for years. Chunks of rock and metal drifted away, revealing the gleaming hull beneath. A hull covered with weapon emplacements, sensor arrays, and engine ports glowing with barely contained power. Aboard the lead Vorak ship, the sensor officer stared in disbelief at his readings. "Admiral, the asteroid. It's shedding its outer layer. There's a ship underneath, a massive ship." Kresh's voice came through the communication system, tight with sudden tension. "Identify its configuration." "Unknown design, sir. But its size, its planetary scale. And I'm detecting energy readings unlike anything in our database." "Open fire immediately," Kresh ordered. "All reconnaissance vessels. Maximum offensive capability." The 10 Vorak ships launched their attack, energy weapons and projectiles streaking toward New Terra. The impacts flashed brilliantly against the human vessel's shields, which absorbed the assault without visible effect. On New Terra's bridge, Jake waited calmly as the enemy fire was repelled by their advanced shield technology. "Shields holding at 98%, reported the defensive systems officer. "No damage." "Phillips, open that channel now." The communications officer worked his console. "Channel open, sir. Broadcasting on all standard Federation frequencies." Jake stood straight, his voice steady as he delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. "This is Colonel Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force vessel New Terra. You are participating in the illegal genocide of the Zephyr people. Cease all hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system, or we will be forced to take action." The response was immediate. Another barrage of weapons fire, this time coordinated across all 10 Vorak ships. Again, New Terra's shields held firm. "No response except continued attack, sir," Phillips reported. Jake's expression hardened. "Target their weapon systems only. Precision strikes. Minimal yield." Amanda's fingers flew across her console. "Targeting solutions acquired. Ready to fire." "Execute." New Terra's secondary weapons batteries activated, sending precisely calibrated energy pulses toward each Vorak vessel. The beams sliced through their shields as if they weren't there, surgically disabling weapon systems without destroying the ships themselves. "All targets neutralized," Amanda confirmed. "Their weapons are offline, but their communication and propulsion systems remain functional." Jake reopened the channel. "This was a demonstration. Return to your fleet and inform Admiral Kresh that he has 1 standard hour to cease all operations against the Zephyr and begin withdrawal from the system. There will be no further warnings." The disabled Vorak ships turned and fled toward the main fleet, broadcasting urgent signals ahead of them. In his command chamber, Admiral Kresh received the report with growing rage. "Impossible," he hissed. "No species possesses such technology, least of all humans." His strategic officer approached cautiously. "The reconnaissance footage confirms it. Admiral, their vessel is approximately 1/5 the size of a small moon, and their weapons disabled our ships without effort." "And you're certain it's of human origin?" "The communication came from a human commander, and the ship originated from the asteroid belt where humans conduct mining operations." Kresh's compound eyes narrowed. "They've been deceiving us, using their status as miners to construct this abomination." He turned to his command staff. "Recall all ships from planetary bombardment. Concentrate the fleet in Defense Formation Alpha. We will destroy this human vessel and then complete our mission." Back on New Terra, Jake watched as the Vorak fleet reorganized, pulling away from the planet's surface to face the new threat. "They're forming a combat array," Phillips reported. "All 3,000 ships." Lisa looked up from her station. "Their energy readings are spiking. They're preparing for a massive coordinated attack. Jake studied the tactical display, where the Vorak fleet had arranged itself in a hemisphere formation facing New Terra. It was an impressive sight. 3,000 of the most advanced warships in the Federation, their weapons charged and ready. "They're choosing confrontation," Jake said quietly. "Amanda, what's the status of the main cannon?" "Fully charged and ready, sir. Targeting solutions prepared for various yields, from minimum effectiveness to—" She hesitated. "Maximum destructive potential." Jake closed his eyes briefly. This was the moment he had hoped to avoid, using the planet-killer weapon against living beings. But the Vorak had made their choice, and the lives of the remaining Zephyr hung in the balance. "All hands, this is the Colonel," he announced shipwide. "Prepare for imminent engagement with the entire Vorak fleet. Remember why we're here, to protect the innocent and establish that humanity will not tolerate genocide, even from the most powerful forces in the galaxy." He turned back to Amanda. "Target their command ship first. Minimum effective yield. Let's give them one last chance to reconsider." Before Amanda could implement the command, Philip shouted, "Incoming! The entire fleet is firing simultaneously!" The space between the Vorak Armada and New Terra filled with energy beams, projectiles, and missiles. A storm of destructive force unlike anything seen in recent galactic history. The combined firepower would have annihilated any conventional Federation vessel instantly. New Terra's shields flared brilliant blue as they absorbed the onslaught, the massive ship shuddering slightly under the impact. "Shield status?" Jake demanded. "Holding at 87%, came the reply. "But they're charging for another volley." Jake's decision was made. "Amanda, main cannon, 50% power. Target the center of their formation." She looked up at him, her eyes questioning. "Sir, at that yield—" "I know what it will do, Doctor. Execute the order." Amanda nodded solemnly and entered the commands. Deep within New Terra, the massive weapon began to power up, drawing energy from the ship's core reactors. "Main cannon charging," she reported. "Firing solution locked. 30 seconds to discharge." The Vorak fleet launched a second coordinated attack, even more powerful than the first. New Terra's shields absorbed the assault again, but dropped to 72%. 15 seconds, Amanda counted down. Jake watched the tactical display, where thousands of Vorak ships continued their relentless attack, confident in their overwhelming numerical advantage. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, firing. From the bow of New Terra, a blinding beam of pure energy erupted, so bright that the bridge crew had to shield their eyes despite the automatic filtering of the viewports. The beam, a perfect column of white-hot force, struck the center of the Vorak formation and expanded outward in a controlled cone. Within seconds, over 300 Vorak ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized by the unprecedented energy discharge. The ships around them, caught in the periphery of the beam, spun out of control, their systems overloaded and hulls breached. As the light faded, a vast empty space had appeared in the center of the Vorak fleet, surrounded by damaged and drifting vessels. Nearly a third of their armada had been neutralized in a single shot. The bridge of New Terra fell silent, the crew stunned by the destructive power they had just witnessed. Jake broke the silence first. "Open a channel to the Vorak command ship." Phillips worked his console. "Channel open, sir." Jake's voice was steady as he addressed the enemy commander. "Admiral Kresh, you have witnessed a fraction of our capability. We have no desire for further bloodshed. Withdraw your forces immediately, and the shooting stops. Continue this attack, and we will be forced to eliminate your entire fleet." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, the image of Admiral Kresh appeared on the main screen, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of his command center. "You dare to threaten the Vorak Empire?" his translated voice rasped. "One lucky shot does not win a war. Human." "This wasn't luck, Admiral," Jake replied calmly. And this isn't war, unless you make it one. We came to stop a genocide, not to start a conflict. Kresh's mandibles clicked in agitation. The Zephyr were sentenced under Federation law. No, Jake interrupted. They were targeted because they possessed knowledge you wanted erased. We've decoded your communication protocols. Admiral, we know the truth. Kresh's compound eyes flashed with anger. Then you know nothing will stop us from completing our mission. The Vorak Empire does not yield. The transmission cut off abruptly. On the tactical display, the remaining Vorak ships began to reorganize, forming a new attack pattern. They're not backing down, Lisa observed quietly. Jake nodded, his expression grim. Then neither will we. He turned to Amanda. Main cannon, full power. Target the center of their new formation. Amanda's hands trembled slightly as she entered the commands. Colonel, at full power, the casualties will be... I know, Doctor. But they've left us no choice. Jake addressed the entire bridge. We offered peace. We demonstrated our power without destroying their entire fleet. They chose to continue their genocide. He drew a deep breath. Fire when ready. The main cannon began to charge again, drawing even more power from the ship's reactors. Throughout New Terra, non-essential systems temporarily dimmed as energy was diverted to the weapon. Firing in 10 seconds, Amanda announced, her voice tight. The Vorak fleet launched another coordinated attack, their weapons fire splashing against New Terra's shields. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Firing. Once again, the brilliant beam erupted from New Terra's bow, but this time it was nearly twice as bright, twice as wide. It struck the center of the Vorak formation and expanded outward in a perfect cone of destruction. In 17 seconds, it was over. Where 3,000 Vorak warships had been, only scattered debris remained. Admiral Kresh's mighty armada, the pride of the Vorak Empire, had been reduced to drifting metal and dissipating energy in less than half a minute. On New Terra's bridge, Jake stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. The demonstration of power had exceeded even their own expectations. The weapon had performed beyond its theoretical limits, leaving nothing but fragments where a fleet had been. Scan for survivors, he finally ordered, his voice hoarse. Phillips worked his console, detecting approximately 200 intact escape pods and severely damaged vessels at the edges of the formation. No operational warships remain. Jake nodded slowly. Broadcast on all frequencies, in all Federation languages. This is Colonel Jake Morrison of Earth. The attack on the Zephyr people ends now. Any vessel attempting to continue hostilities will be destroyed. We will provide assistance to survivors and evacuees. As the message went out, Jake turned to Lisa. Take us into orbit around Zephyr. Dispatch medical and emergency teams to the surface. The bridge crew moved with subdued efficiency, still processing the enormity of what had just occurred. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible, destroying one of the Federation's most powerful fleets in minutes. Sir, Phillips called out, his voice urgent. We're receiving transmissions from across the Federation, the Ethereal Council, the Creeland Hive, dozens of member species. They're all demanding explanations. Jake nodded wearily. Tell them they'll get one. But first we save who we can. News of the Vorak fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy at the speed of quantum communications. In the chambers of the Ethereal Council, the luminous beings hovered in a state of unprecedented agitation. The humans did this, the Blue Counselor pulsed in disbelief. The same species we classified as pre-spaceflight primitives a decade ago? Selenth's golden form brightened with what might have been satisfaction. They hid their true capabilities, using their assigned role as miners to construct a weapon of unprecedented power, right under the Federation's surveillance. This changes everything, another counselor noted. The balance of power, the Federation hierarchy. Perhaps it should, Selenth responded. Perhaps we have grown too comfortable with a system that allows atrocities like the Zephyr genocide to proceed without intervention. The council chamber's entrance illuminated as an aide entered. Counselors, we have received a communication from the human vessel. Their commander requests a Federation emergency session to address recent events. Selenth's form pulsed with approval. Grant the request immediately, and prepare to receive a Zephyr delegation as well. We must hear from the survivors directly. On the Kreeland homeworld, the Queen Node processed the flood of information with remarkable speed. Analysis complete. The collective mind determined. Humans, grave miscalculation in assessment. Capabilities exceed all Federation estimates by orders of magnitude. Recommended response, asked the strategy node. Immediate diplomatic engagement, potential alliance. Humans value protection of weaker species. Alignment with Kreeland ethical framework. Throughout the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place as Federation species recalibrated their understanding of humanity. The species they had dismissed as primitive laborers had just revealed technological superiority that rendered existing power structures obsolete. Aboard New Terra, Jake coordinated rescue operations from the bridge, dispatching teams to assist Zephyr survivors. The ship had taken up orbit around the damaged planet, its presence both a protection against further attacks and a symbol of the new reality. Dr. Amanda Foster approached, her expression troubled. The Zephyr are gathering their remaining historical archives. They're requesting permission to bring them aboard for safekeeping. Jake nodded. Granted. And Amanda. He hesitated. About the weapon. I built it to protect, not destroy, she said quietly. Today it did both. I can live with that. Lisa joined them, tablet in hand. The Federation Council has granted our request for an emergency session. They're expecting you to address representatives from all member species in 6 hours. Jake ran a hand through his hair. And what exactly am I supposed to tell them? The truth, Lisa suggested. That humanity built New Terra as a defense against exactly the kind of atrocity we just prevented. That we don't seek domination, just recognition and respect. And if they demand we surrender our technology, Amanda asked, they'll claim weapons of this magnitude violate Federation law, the same law that allowed the Vorak to attempt genocide? Jake shook his head. No, we won't surrender anything, but we will offer partnership. The galaxy is full of wonders and terrors we've barely glimpsed. Perhaps it's time for a new approach to Federation governance. Commander Phillips interrupted with an urgent report. Colonel, we're detecting multiple quantum jumps at the edge of the system. Federation vessels, but not military. Diplomatic ships from at least 20 different species. Jake straightened his uniform. Well, that was fast. Prepare to receive them. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of diplomatic exchanges. As representatives from across the Federation came aboard New Terra, most with barely concealed awe at the scale and technology of the human vessel. The Zephyr delegation arrived as well, led by their few remaining elders, carrying data crystals containing their most precious historical records. Finally, it was time for Jake to address the Emergency Federation Council session. The communication chamber had been prepared, with quantum transmitters allowing his image and words to reach thousands of worlds simultaneously. Jake stood before the transmitter, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. He would be speaking not just for New Terra's crew, but for all of humanity. Transmission active in 3, 2, 1. Phillips counted down, then nodded. Jake faced the unseen audience across the stars. I am Colonel Jake Morrison of Earth, commanding officer of the vessel New Terra. Today, we intervened to prevent the genocide of the Zephyr people by forces of the Vorak Empire. Our actions were not taken lightly, nor do they represent a desire for conflict. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. For 10 years, humanity has been part of your Federation, assigned the role of laborers, miners, relegated to the lowest tier of your civilization. You thought you knew what we were capable of. You were wrong. The transmission chamber was silent except for Jake's measured voice. New Terra represents not just humanity's technological achievement, but our fundamental belief that power comes with responsibility. We built this ship not to conquer, but to protect, not to dominate, but to ensure justice. He gestured to the Zephyr elders who stood nearby. Ask yourselves, if we had not acted, how many more species might suffer the Zephyr's fate? How many civilizations have already been erased while the Federation debated protocols and jurisdictions? Jake's expression softened slightly. Humanity does not seek war. We seek a galaxy where the strong protect the vulnerable, where knowledge is preserved rather than destroyed, where diversity is celebrated rather than eliminated. We are prepared to help build such a galaxy, as equals, not as servants. He straightened to his full height for his conclusion. To that end, I am authorized to announce the formation of the Terran Peacekeeping Authority. 12 vessels of New Terra's class are nearing completion in our shipyards. They will patrol Federation space, intervening only to prevent atrocities like the one we witnessed today. Throughout the galaxy, the impact of this revelation sent shockwaves through governments and populations alike. Humans had not built one planet-sized warship. They had built 12. We extend our hand in friendship to all peaceful species, Jake continued. And we promise this. Never again will genocide be permitted while we have the power to prevent it. The choice now lies with the Federation. Adapt to this new reality, or cling to a system that has failed those it was meant to protect. With that, Jake ended the transmission. The chamber erupted in conversation as the various delegates processed his words. Well said, Lisa murmured beside him. Jake exhaled slowly. Now we wait to see how they respond. 6 months later. Jake stood at the observation deck of New Terra, watching as the newly formed Zephyr Ethereal Research Collective broke ground on their joint library project. The Zephyr homeworld was still scarred from the Vorak attack, but reconstruction was proceeding rapidly with assistance from a dozen Federation species. Lisa joined him at the viewport. The last of the Terran peacekeepers has been deployed, she reported. Constellation complete. Jake nodded, studying the planet below. The revelation of humanity's hidden fleet had fundamentally altered the Federation's power structure. The Vorak Empire had been sanctioned and contained, their territories reduced and placed under supervision. The Ethereal Council had undergone significant reforms, with new provisions for direct intervention in cases of genocide or systemic oppression. Most significantly, humans were no longer relegated to mining operations. Earth had been recognized as a full member of the Federation, with representatives serving on all major councils. Any word from the Kreelan delegation? Jake asked. They've approved the Mutual Defense Treaty, Lisa confirmed. That makes 17 species who've aligned with the Terran Peacekeeping Authority. Jake smiled slightly. Not bad for a bunch of miners. Dr. Amanda Foster entered the observation deck, accompanied by a Zephyr elder, whose delicate, translucent form seemed to shimmer in the starlight. Colonel, Amanda began, Elder Thelian has something he wishes to share with you. The Zephyr approached, holding a small crystal sphere that pulsed with inner light. This contains our oldest histories, Thelian explained, his translated voice melodic. Records that predate the Federation by thousands of years. The Vorak sought to destroy these because they tell of a time when many species worked together as equals, not as rulers, and ruled. He offered the sphere to Jake. We entrust this knowledge to humanity, for you have demonstrated the wisdom to use power for protection rather than dominance. Jake accepted the sphere carefully. We're honored by your trust, Elder Thelian. This will be preserved in Earth's archives, available to all who wish to learn. As the Zephyr Elder departed, Commander Phillips arrived with a data tablet. Sir, the Federation Council has ratified the peacekeeping protocols. All member species are now bound by law to prevent and report genocidal actions. Jake took the tablet, scanning the document that represented months of diplomatic effort. "It's a start," he said quietly. "Not perfect, but a foundation we can build on." The four officers stood in companionable silence, watching as shuttles moved between New Terra and the planet below. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats working together to rebuild what had been nearly lost. "Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing?" Amanda asked suddenly. "Creating weapons of such power, using them even once?" Jake considered the question carefully. "I wonder every day," he admitted. "But I look at what's happening down there. Species working together who barely acknowledged each other 6 months ago. And I think perhaps the galaxy needed a reminder of what's truly important." Lisa nodded in agreement. Not dominance, but protection. Not conquest, but preservation. The Vorak believed power gave them the right to erase entire civilizations. Jake continued. "We showed them, and the Federation, that power carries a greater responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves." As the stars wheeled slowly overhead, Jake Morrison looked out at the peaceful scene below and quietly added, "Power isn't for conquest. It's for protection. That's the difference between them and us, and why the galaxy wasn't ready for what humanity had built." The New Terra continued its orbit around the healing planet, a silent guardian of a new era in galactic history, one where the former miners and laborers of Earth had become the unexpected architects of peace.